Hello, everyone. I'm Sam Eckmann of Gold Derby here with Jack Champion from Avatar: The Way of Water. And I saw, Jack, I have to say, you had a small role in Avengers Endgame. And I saw online that you actually found out you got the screen test, I think, for Avatar way back when you were working on Endgame. So this has been like years in the making for you.
Oh, really?
What does it feel like to finally be able to view the movie with people and finally be able to talk about it?
Jeez. I mean, it's a mix of nerves, excitement, lots of excitement, just for people to finally be able to watch my teenagehood in this movie and everything we've created in Avatar: The Way of Water. But it's funny you mentioned Avengers Endgame because I found out the same day that I booked the screen test for Avatar that I was going to fly out to LA, and I booked the role in Avengers Endgame. So while I was working with Paul Rudd for a day, I remember telling Paul Rudd, "Hey man, I'm going to directly flying from Atlanta to LA for this screen test." And he was like, "Oh, really? That's great, kid. Yeah. I hope you do well. Wish you luck." And then fast forward 5 years and I see him at D23 in this giant
Hmm.
green, and I go up to him and I'm like, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me because I'm like big and puberty-ized, but dude, it's me." And he was like, "What? No way." And he was and he, like, we talked for like 30 minutes just catching up. And I don't know, to me it was like a big monumental moment for me to like see him again.
Yeah.
And yeah, just like, hey man, I did it. And it's just, such a cool feeling. But yeah.
Very cool to have many years later. Yeah. Well, in Avatar, you play Spider, and it's a really incredibly physical role because he's been living with the Na'vi for so long and adopted into that family. So I'm curious how you approached it physically. What was there training around that? Where did you get that physicality from?
I worked many years with my trainer Josh Maria, who I still work to this day, still work with, and he just helped me get from like a really not very fit, pudgy 12-year-old to like someone who looks like they can been running around the jungle their whole life. So for years we did bodybuilding, CrossFit, just high intensity workouts, and getting my diet on point, with a lot of trial and error. That's just like a lot of what, especially being like a really young teenager, all I wanted to do was eat donuts and eat chips. But we definitely found our groove, our rhythm, and we I think we made something awesome.
Yeah. The desire to eat donuts and chips doesn't go away as you get
No, it
older
doesn't really go away.
either.
It's like I was so like, when you're that age, if someone tells you you're not going to do this or you can't do this, your immediate instinct is to prove them wrong, I guess, just to
Uh,
be is. But
yeah. And I
yeah.
imagine you would spend a lot of time filming in a tank because there's an incredible amount of underwater scenes, some of which you're a part of in this movie. Was
Yeah.
diving lessons a part of that? What was filming in that tank like?
It was a lot of fun. It was this giant tank with apparently 900,000 gallons of water, something crazy number like that. And it would take like four like stories or like four flights of stairs just to get to the top of the tank. And it was just like this giant intimidating machine, you could call it. That they had this giant like half cylinder thing of metal that would slam into the water and cause this wave, to create like, ocean like, uh simulation. And it was just this very intimidating to look at. But once you get in there, we spent months training with John Garvin and Kirk Kroc, the free diving and scuba guys, so they've helped us feel very comfortable filming 30, 60 feet underwater.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I've heard that James Cameron likes to do some pretty long takes.
Yeah.
How challenging was it? Because you have such a physical, so much of this movie is so physical.
Yeah.
How challenging was it to do those?
Well, I mean, it was, man, it was pretty crazy because, like, I don't know. It was because, like, if it's an emotional scene, like, it's almost easier because you're always, you're not moving as much for action scenes, and he'll literally like talk you through it, like, okay, now you're thinking of this, now you're thinking of that, now you see this. Oh no, get your knife out. So it's like he kind of like verbally does like explains the scene for you while you're doing it.
Hmm.
Um, And then obviously action scenes, pure action is just like a lot of, okay, you swim, you go past this and you have to look frightened, which uses up oxygen, which makes it have to be a shorter take. But yeah, in general, yes, Jim likes to do very long takes.
Yeah. And there's a lot of moments where you were the only human on camera,
Yeah.
with these Navi folks. So what was that like? Because I would imagine everyone's kind of around you. Your co-stars are all in motion capture
Yeah.
suits. So how does that sort of trigger your imagination when you're on set?
Um, it's well because I did 2 years of performance capture with the rest of the cast on the gray soundstage volume thingy. Acting with them right next to them, and then I did another 2.5 years of in New Zealand of live action with blue paint on in my loincloth by myself, acting to tennis balls and film faces and stuff. Um, and honestly, it's not as hard as it seems because once you have built up that rapport, that bond with someone years ago, and I've done all my scenes already, so I basically that was just a giant rehearsal, and I'm doing them now for real. Um, I can just look back on my you know past acting experience during that time and just use it for the scene.
Yeah. Even is that true? Even when you have like those, because you have a few scenes that are really, much more quieter, introspective, emotional scenes. Did you have to do any of those like with the tennis ball acting?
Yeah, yeah. But it was, I mean, it was always really, really pretty easy stuff. Just, I mean, as far as technical stuff, it was never always easy, just because technical, oh, you moved too much to the left or to the right. But once you're in the scene and I kind of hear the audio of Stephen Lang's voice, and it's really easy for me to just imagine, that I'm in the scene. So
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Stephen Lang. Your character Spider is for much of this film kind of almost stuck between two worlds of the humans and the Na'vi. How did you look at that aspect of the character, and how does that weigh on him?
uh I think I tried to really think about how how a human would feel if he got captured and went back into his own people's world, which is like alien to him, even though he's technically alien to a world that he finds home. So there's just a lot of inner turmoil and inner conflicts with him and his biological father and chosen family, which he's not even fully accepted in. So it's very a lot of layers, you could say, pretty juicy.
Yeah. And you got to play it with, I would say, some pretty amazing legendary actors. Would you say this was like a learning experience for you? What did you take away
Oh
from
yeah.
those actors?
Yeah, yeah, like working with Sigourney Weaver, Stephen Lang and Jim, just watching them perform and work is an honor in itself. So it was truly just an honor, and seeing them, I think something they all have in common is they're all just very calm and they know what they're doing and they go with their gut instinct. They don't like think about something too much or try and make it something that it's not. It's just because acting's subjective. There's no right way to do it. So you always just go with your gut. And I think that's the number one thing I've learned from everyone.
Yeah. Would you say there's like a particular scene that you're most proud of that was kind of difficult to get right?
Yes, but it's an Avatar 3 and I can't say that. As far as 2 goes, physically, the one where I save Courage, that one, it's emotional and we filmed it actually underwater. So it was just fucking really hard to film with lighting and all that crap. So I'd say I'm most proud of that because it looks great, and I'm just proud of the way it turned out because of all the hard work I just poured into it, and everyone did.
Yeah.
So
I would imagine a lot of it feels like a surprise to you when you see the film for the
yeah,
first time. Is that true to say?
yeah, it's like if I spent so much time like making a gift for someone, and then someone beautifully wraps it in a present box, and you're like, whoa, that looks amazing. So yeah, it kind of feels like that. Just seeing it, like stepping back and looking at it, just looks unreal.
Yeah. You mentioned before you have a moment you're thinking of in Avatar 3. And of course, James Cameron has all these sequels planned. Were the stories of those sequels kind of presented to you right away? Did you get the whole breadth of the story so you're able to work on the character that way, or was it just one at a time?
Uh, I honestly, I think so. The thing that is like a little tricky acting wise is like we would have one scene in the morning that's from two, and then the next scene is from three. So that would be tricky sometimes, but I mean you get used to it, you know. It's acting when it's your job, you know, it's not too much for me to bear emotionally. It's just, you know, it's not that bad.
Yeah. Well, I know this took, many years to complete, as we said before. And so if you think back to when you started filming on this process to maybe like your last day of filming, what were like the main differences? Was there a major takeaway, major like acting moment of learning for you in this process?
Uh I mean, I think I kind of answered that earlier in the sense of just going with your gut instinct and yeah, I'd say going with your gut instinct just because that's usually right. And
Mhm.
because there's not a way, like so many other jobs in the world, there's always some kind of right way to do it, you know. But acting is any kind of art is subjective. So that's why you always just go with your gut, go with what you like. So
Yes, well, I would say it turned out very well in this movie. And uh, James Cameron has directed so many people. What is his approach like with you on set? How is he as a director with you?
you know, it's weird because Jim has this, you know, he has his reputation for being really perfectionist and really mean and hard to work with. But my whole experience with him has been he's been always very kind of soft spoken and very comforting to me. Like every morning he would come up to me and, you know, quietly in a very somewhere secluded where it's just me and him, we talk through the scene, talk through how my character feels, what happens, and make sure I'm ready. And it could be 30 minutes, an hour, it doesn't matter. um, he would just help me understand and feel, and we wouldn't film until I feel ready. So he's always there for me.
That's great. I do want to pivot, before I have to wrap up with you. I'm going to pivot a little bit away from Avatar because you are appearing in Scream 6, which is coming out in March and is one of my favorite horror franchises of all time. What was it like? You spent so long in in Pandora, years in
Oh,
Pandora. What's it like to then go to Scream, where there's like real sets and it's a totally different ballgame?
hey, I mean, I feel like I just enjoyed the ride. Like working with Jenna Ortega, Melissa, literally everyone in the film is amazing, is a fucking phenomenal actor. And it was just easy to, like, when you're surrounded by amazing actors, it's easy to just act with them. You know, they make it easy. So I was just lucky enough to be surrounded by an amazing cast and amazing directors, Matt and Tyler.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was just a amazing experience. We filmed it over the summer. It just felt like a nice little like horror summer camp. And yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. Are you a fan of scary movies yourself?
I am a very big fan of scary movies. My favorite scary movie is probably Scream, the first one. I feel like nothing really beats it. It's the perfect horror movie. Perfect amount of actual horror, perfect amount of gore, humor, references almost every
Yeah.
horror movie. Like it's just, in my opinion, the closest thing to a perfect horror movie you could get.
I agree. It's pretty stellar, and I can't wait to see this one with you coming out soon. So, thank you. Two great films, great cast experiences for you there. So, thank you for sitting down with me. And anyone's out there watching, make sure you subscribe to Gold Derby. Jack, thanks again.
Yeah, make sure you hit that like button, smash the subscribe button, and turn on the bell so turn on notifications so you don't miss another upload.
He said it,
Well,
folks. Thank you so much.
thank you, man.